fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The wind tasted of pine and coming snow, a biting caress against my exposed skin that carried whispers of ancient secrets. Each gust felt like a ghostly hand tracing the lines of my jaw, a chilling reminder of the isolation that had become my constant companion. Ancient trees stood sentinel around me, their bark etched with forgotten runes, branches like gnarled fingers of slumbering gods clawing at a sky bleeding from bruised purple to ash gray. The air itself felt heavy, saturated with a magic that prickled against my skin. I tightened the clasp of my cloak, the rough wool scratching against the sensitive skin at the base of my neck where my grandmother's locket usually rested, a small, silver crescent moon. Now that familiar comfort was replaced by far heavier magic, a weight that settled not just on my chest but in the very marrow of my bones. It wasn't the cold that truly chilled me, though. It was the weight of the amulet burning against my sternum, its pulsing heat syncing with my heartbeat in a rhythm that felt dangerously like possession. The obsidian stone, carved in the shape of a coiled serpent, throbbed with a power I barely understood, a siren song to every shadow creature in these cursed woods. I could almost feel their eyes on me, cold and calculating, hidden amongst the trees. Just a little further, I murmured, my breath crystallizing in the air like ghostly punctuation. Each exhale felt like a fragile offering to the encroaching darkness, the forest swallowing my words as hungrily as it swallowed the fading light. The scent of damp earth and decaying leaves filled my nostrils, overlaid with a metallic tang that I couldn't quite place. It smelled old, like forgotten battles and ancient grief. The path twisted before me, a treacherous tangle of roots that seemed to shift when I blinked and loose stones that rolled beneath my boots with suspicious timing. Each step was a conscious effort, a small victory against the forest's attempts to impede my progress. The physical obstacles mirrored the doubts twisting through my mind like brambles, thorny and insistent. Am I strong enough? Can I truly bear this burden? Turning back wasn't an option. Not after the vision that had torn me from sleep 7 nights past. The scrying pool had shown me Eredor's capital in ruins, its crystalline spires shattered like glass, the marketplace where I'd bought honeycakes with mother as a child now stained with ichor, a sickening crimson against the white stone. The vibrant tapestry of my childhood ripped and stained with violence. Worst were the faces, neighbors, friends, the palace guards who taught me swordplay, old Master Elmsworth with his booming laugh, all frozen in silent screams that echoed in the hollow places of my soul. The memory burned behind my eyelids brighter than the amulet's fire, a constant, agonizing reminder of what was at stake. It wasn't just a city I was trying to save. It was a life, a history, a future. Even sleep offered no respite, only a relentless replay of the horror punctuated by that voice, the one that didn't belong to the vision, whispering promises in a language that made my teeth ache, a language that felt like it was unraveling my very being. It offered power, but at a cost I wasn't willing to contemplate. A twig snapped behind me, the sound as sharp as a blade in the suffocating silence. Every hair on my body stood erect, my muscles coiling like overwound clockwork. Years of royal training warred with animal instinct, one screaming to stand my ground, to assess the threat, the other to bolt like a startled hare, to disappear into the undergrowth. My fingers found the hilt of my dagger, its cold steel a familiar comfort beneath my gloved hand. The blade had been a name-day gift from Captain Rail, its edge still keen despite the blood it had spilled during the border skirmishes with the Norian tribes. It felt insufficient, a small comfort against the darkness that pressed in around me. "Who's there?" I called out, proud that my voice carried the regal steadiness mother had drilled into me, belying the frantic drumbeat of my heart. I focused on my breathing, slow and deliberate, trying to project an aura of confidence I didn't feel. My eyes scanned the skeletal trees, searching for movement in the gathering gloom, for any sign of the creature that had followed me. Then I saw it, a flicker of silver like moonlight on water, and my breath caught in my throat. It wasn't a creature, it was her. She emerged from between 2 particularly twisted pines, their branches arching above her like a macabre archway. Lyra, her face was pale as the first winter snow, those storm cloud eyes wide and searching, framed by strands of dark hair escaping her braid. The sight of her sent a wave of relief crashing through me so intense it nearly buckled my knees, followed immediately by a confusing surge of something warmer. Something that made the amulet burn hotter against my skin, a heat that wasn't unpleasant but unsettlingly intimate. My carefully constructed composure threatened to crumble. "You're harder to track than a shadow fox in midsummer," she said, her voice that familiar blend of honey and steel, a sound that always managed to soothe the edges of my anxiety. A small smile touched her lips, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Her gaze dropped to where my hand still gripped the dagger. Though I see you haven't forgotten all my lessons. A flush crept up my neck. She always knew how to disarm me, even when I was bracing for a fight. I swallowed around the sudden dryness in my throat. You shouldn't be here. Even as I said it, the amulet pulsed in time with her step forward, as if recognizing its counterpart beneath her travel-stained tunic. I knew she carried one too, a matching piece of the ancient power we were both bound to. Her eyes locked with mine, and a silent conversation passed between us, worry etched around the corners of her mouth, defiance blazing in her gaze, and something else that made the cold air feel suddenly thick, charged with an energy I couldn't name. A longing, perhaps, or maybe just the desperate hope that we weren't alone in this. Someone had to make sure you didn't walk into a trap, she said softly, her voice barely a whisper above the wind. She took another step closer, and I didn't move to stop her. The forest held its breath around us, the coming storm forgotten in the face of this new, more dangerous electricity crackling between our shared gaze. I could smell the wood smoke clinging to her clothes, the faint scent of the herbs she used in her healing potions. It was a comforting smell, a reminder of the life we'd both left behind. Tell me what you saw in the pool, she urged, her hand reaching out, hovering just inches from my arm. Everything. The amulet flared again, and I knew, with a certainty that settled deep in my bones, that this journey wouldn't just be about saving Eredor. It would be about confronting the darkness within ourselves and the growing, undeniable pull between us.